Two of the biggest self-sabotaging behaviors are overthinking and overdoing. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can find out if you're prone to one of these, why it happens, and how to break free of it. So the two actions, the thinking and the doing, are very interconnected. What you think absolutely dramatically affects what you do and don't do. And then what you do or don't do dramatically affects your results. And then what your results are directly affects what you think about yourself and your potential and your accomplishments. So I find that most of the people that I work with, before we start working together, they're high achievers and they absolutely fall into one of these behaviors, if not both. They're overthinkers or they're overdoers. And it's because they really want to do a good job. They want to be right. They want to look good. And they have a hard time if anything is other than that. The good news is that overthinking and overdoing are just behaviors that have become a habit. And when you're aware of them and you want a different outcome, you just have to get underneath why these behaviors are happening, and you can change it, you can break the cycle, you can interrupt this habit, this pattern. The thing is, for most people, this is happening automatically. They don't even realize that it's happening. And so it's this vicious cycle that just keeps reinforcing itself. And it's not until you actually acknowledge and take a look at what you're doing on a daily basis or a moment-to-moment basis where you notice it and you can then interrupt it. But once you know what I'm about to share with you, you will be able to interrupt it, notice it, stop it very quickly and easily. So let's start with the overthinker. So the overthinker is someone who gets stuck in her head. She has a hard time dropping into her heart and making decisions based on her intuition or her heart or her feeling and emotions. She's always thinking, she's always wondering what she should be doing, if she could be doing something differently or better, or what she should be doing. She tends to wear a mask. She has a false persona because she doesn't really want people to see the real her. She wants to feel accepted. And there's a part of her that feels like she's not good enough. So if she shows her true self, that won't be good enough and she won't get the validation that she wants. She takes a long time thinking and thinking and thinking before making a decision. And then when she finally does make a decision, she second guesses it. She doesn't want to be wrong. She doesn't want to make mistakes. And so she spends a lot of time thinking about all the possible options and outcomes and different strategies or different pathways that she could take. She wants to make sure she does the right thing. The problem is she feels like something's missing in her life. She wants more out of her life, or if she's an entrepreneur, she wants more out of her day-to-day business life. She feels like something's missing in her life, and she wants more joy in her business and her life in general. She often feels like it's hard to tune into her emotions and has a hard time connecting with people. She comes across as kind of cold and stiff. Ever heard of that phrase, resting bitch face? But she doesn't want to show her true emotions because it makes her feel weak and vulnerable. So the villain underneath this behavior is the fear of not being good enough or not deserving of what she wants. And she lacks trust in herself. This is usually connected to experiences that happened a long time ago, but they are most definitely showing up in the way that she thinks about herself right now. It's very much a part of her subconscious programming, or in other words, her automatic thoughts and emotions and beliefs. When she realizes that reading another personal development book or trying a new business strategy isn't working, and she's able to overcome this success villain, the root cause of overthinking, she's able to show up with confidence. She develops a deep trust in herself. And she starts to actually want to show herself to the world. And she's able to connect with people on a deeper level. Okay, so let's now move to the overdoer. This is a high achiever who is constantly trying to work harder and do more. She's constantly striving, but never quite arriving. She never really feels smart enough or accomplished enough yet or good enough yet. There's always more to do. She could always do better. She could always improve. And if she's a perfectionist, if she has perfectionist tendencies, this leads her to constantly be redoing, revising, retweaking before she puts her stuff out in the world for others to see. She constantly compares herself to others and feels less than. She just tries to get new skills, more training, more certification to prove that she's worthy or that she's ready or that she's smart enough. Or she may be doing way more for others than she expects them to do for her. And she has trouble setting like healthy boundaries with other people. So the villain at the root of this behavior is this constant need for approval of someone in the distant past, some distant role model, or simply it's fear of failure. She has specific expectations that someone or she has set upon herself that she's never quite reaching. But once this villain is overtaken, she can finally relax. She can take that vacation that she's been putting off. She can focus on fun and relaxation. And what she learns is that working less is actually exactly what she needs to start making more money and being more successful more quickly. And she starts to get herself out there without that need of having to revise it one more time first. So why do we do these behaviors? Well, really, it's a defense mechanism. And what that means is that there's this underlying fear or feeling of inadequacy that's very uncomfortable. No one wants to feel that. So we busy our minds or busy our lives so that we don't have to feel it. We distract ourselves away from these uncomfortable feelings. So the way to break free of these is to pause and notice. Notice how often of the time you're falling into one of these tendencies. Or maybe if you're a perfectionist, you likely have both of these, where sometimes you're overthinking and then sometimes you're overdoing. But once we pause and we notice how much of the time we fall into this, we can start to get underneath it. We can start to ask ourselves, what is it that we're afraid of? What would happen if we just made the decision and went with it? What would happen if we just created something and put it out, our first draft, without worrying about what's going to happen, who's going to hate it, or who's going to like it? What if you just went for something that you wanted instead of waiting for permission or validation from someone else? That can bring up a lot of discomfort. So whatever the answer is to those questions of what it is that you're avoiding, take that answer and sit with it. And this is where most people go wrong. They either don't take the time to figure out what it is that they're actually afraid of and then sit in that discomfort, or they just move through it really quickly. So the key here is to acknowledge what it is that you're fearing, what's coming up, what is it that you're avoiding, and stop avoiding it. Lean into it, feel it, honor it, let it actually move through your system. The more you're able to honor it and hear it and actually verbalize what it is, the more quickly you'll be able to move it up and out of your energetic system, okay? And a way to accelerate this process is I highly recommend using tapping. And I have other videos where I talk specifically about what tapping is, how it works, how to do it. And it absolutely, without a doubt, will speed up this entire process. So you're able to acknowledge the pattern that you have, bring up the emotions that you're avoiding, and then you use tapping to release it from your system because it's very uncomfortable. And it's why we have these defense mechanisms. It's why we avoid feeling these things because it sucks. It feels shitty, right? So we want to move the energy so that we can get to the other side of it and it doesn't just get stuck in our system. So acknowledge the feelings, the emotions, the fears, the doubts, the inadequacy. It's only when you actually sit in it and feel it and let it move through your system that you're able to release it. So then you can break this pattern because you're no longer trying to avoid it, right? You've sat in it or with it and you've felt it, right? So there's nothing more to avoid. So you're able to break these behavioral habits. And then if you repeat this process over and over, you start to create new habits while you're weakening the old ones. It's like a cycle, right? So if you keep repeating something, it's just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. But if you start to do something else, then you start to get that pattern and cycle stronger and stronger, and the other one gets weaker. So before you know it, you'll go from spinning in your head, not knowing what to do or what to say or whether you're good enough, to dropping into your body and trusting yourself and making decisions that feel good and you know are right for you. Or if you're the overdoer, you'll just stop working so hard. You will make fun and relaxation an actual part of your life. Like you will choose to focus on fun, to focus on ease, and you'll start working less. And you'll see that that actually moves you forward faster. So I hope this video was valuable. I would love for you to share in the comments which behavior do you tend to fall into more easily? And then what is that underlying fear? What is it that you're avoiding when you think about it? You can really tune in. You can get honest with yourself about what it is that you are avoiding. And then you just lean in. Like I said, use tapping. I have other videos to show you how to do that. You want to accelerate the whole process, and then you can be on your way to success that feels good. See you soon.